So, hey everybody, this week's edition of Get Real with ECAR is all about Realtors Property Resource, or RPR. And our guest this week is Veronica McManus to share a lot of information about RPR. Hey Veronica, how are you?
I'm great today, Susie. How about you?
I am well, and our guest Shireen, who we can't see your face, Shireen, but I just want to give you a shout out before we get going. Shireen was at our fall social on September 22nd, and she was one of the ones that stepped up as a major investor. So, for the first time, we thank you so much for understanding the value of RPAC and investing in that. So great, thank you.
Long overdue, but thank you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It was so good to see everyone, wasn't it?
It's great.
Okay, so Veronica, you're on.
Thank you, Susie. Welcome, Shireen, and welcome to Catherine also. I'm really thrilled to be here because so often when I'm in Connecticut or I get some feedback that the realtors in Connecticut don't think that they can really use RPR the way everyone else does around the country, because some of the data is missing in terms of active listings. And I want to be able to show them so many things that they can use in RPR. And I do want to take questions, but I just quickly want to review what is in RPR is that you have all of the public record data from all of the properties across the country. So all the taxes, the mortgages, property information. There are also many MLSs across the country that share their active listings with all realtors. So very often realtors couldn't use RPR if they have sellers, maybe they're moving out of the country, they could share some active listings with them, or if that consumers they said, oh, hey, we're moving to California and we saw this house. And that you can look it up on RPR and you'll have the public record info, and they may even have the active listing data. Also, because we collect all of the public record data, we do have all sold data. So they can easily do a CMA. And I do have a quick video to show on how to use that CMA. The other thing I want to share is that we really feel that we're one of the tools in a realtor's toolbox. So between the MLS and the association and their broker, because many brokers have so many great tools to share with their agents, we're not here to replace that. We're here to just augment that. Very often, the tools in RPR are used to reinforce the tools that are offered by the brokerage but the association and the MLS. I have an instructor here in Massachusetts where I am that he goes in and he uses 3 different CMAs. So he has the CMA that's provided by the MLS, he has the CMA that's provided by the brokerage, and then he has the RPR CMA. And his tactic is, look, I have 3 different CMAs here that are all saying right about the same thing. And one reinforces the other. So he says he gets the listings all the time, and the consumer is blown away by the fact that he came in with 3 CMAs to reinforce his knowledge of the market, and so that they can be sure that they're making the right decision. It's pretty awesome.
Are you finding that the RPR CMAs are similar to what the brokers come up with, or are you talking about Zillow estimates too, or?
Great that you're bringing up the Zestimate. So the Zillow Zestimate is, and you can find this on their website, that the Zestimate is accurate within 20% plus or minus of fair market value, 60 to 65% of the time. So just process that. A Zestimate is accurate within 20% of fair market value, 60 to 65% of the time. Whereas the RPR, exactly, you got it, Susie. What's like when you think about it, then you go, so literally, and we know this. It's
which
so
could
often,
be good if it's
so
a really low estimate, I guess. Anyway,
but
sorry,
the
not to
RPR,
interrupt.
That's all right. But the RPR RVM is accurate within 10% plus or minus of fair market value, 90 to 95% of the time. So pretty much when the realtor goes in, plugs the property information into the search bar, and the listing comes up, and the AVM, the RVM is there, and it says 500,000. Based on the numbers, without a personal inspection, usually that they're going to find that the actual fair market value of that property is going to be within 10% plus or minus of that 500,000 or whatever the RVM number is. And the reason is because we have the MLS data that includes the actives and the pendings, you get a much more accurate RVM. And then the realtor can go in, do the visual inspection, look at the condition of the bathrooms, look at the condition of the kitchen. How old is the roof? What's the neighborhood? And take into consideration all of those things that a practitioner does, and they can fine tune that on the CMA. And we have 3 different CMAs to offer them.
Would you say that's your number one thing that members use in RPR is the
It is. It's actually the number one thing that the realtors use. They use and it's called a seller's report. We have, now we have about a dozen reports, neighborhood reports, school reports, a mini CMA. We have school reports by niche. We changed from great schools because we found the niche data to be more accurate. And that's been about an 18-month change. We have a flyer that they can produce. We have one of the 3 CMAs is actually based on how an appraiser does a CMA. So if the realtor has been collecting, I advise, and I got this from one of my trainers who was actually a former Greater Boston Association of Realtors president. She asks all her buyers to give her their appraisals or a copy of the appraisal, and she learns how the appraisers value different line items for the properties in the Boston area.
Okay.
So she goes into the RPR CMA, the sales comp analysis tool, and she's able to really fine tune that CMA even more so than on just comparing your actives, pendings, and solds.
Veronica, before you show us that video, I want to ask Shireen or Brad. Hi, Brad. Do you guys have any specific questions? Anything specifically that you want to learn from Veronica today with regard to RPR before she gets going on her material?
Nothing specific for me.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to just get over here. The first thing that I want to show, and I'll share my screen here. Share my screen. And the first thing I want to show is how to add an off-market comp to a CMA in RPR. And this means also adding that FSBO. Never before, when I used to practice back in the day, FSBOs, the only way we knew how much a for sale by owner sold for was we looked in Banker and Tradesman, and our admin actually used to cut out all of the for sale by owners and log them for us so that we would know. But here, because we collect from the public record, we're able to pull that for sale by owner right into a CMA. Also, if for some reason a property that is in the MLS isn't in RPR, we're going to show how to make that adjustment. So RPR is available to all Connecticut realtors for CMAs. So this is a quick CMA, how to include.
In this short RPR tutorial, you will learn how to add off-market comps to your CMA. To get started from the RPR homepage, we're going to add our subject property to RPR under the All Properties search tab.
Is there supposed to be sound with this, Veronica?
Include it in your
Yes.
CMA.
Can you
You
hear
can
it?
add it
Now we
as
can.
an off-market property. Maybe you have brokerages in your market area that do not participate with RPR. And if they have a sold property in your MLS, but not in RPR, and you would like to include that in your CMA, this would be an option for you. Under our comp analysis tool, we want to be sure that we have the radial button selected for our sales comparison analysis. We're going to follow the 4 steps to create our comparison analysis. Step number 1 is going to be confirming the home facts, where you can correct or enter errors and omissions from public record. Once we confirm facts and close on the lower right-hand side, step number 2 is going to be find comps. What we want to do first is add a known property to our CMA. I'm going to select the radial button and enter the property address. The off-market comp we're going to add today is 26 Pelham Place in Stamford, Connecticut. We will receive a confirmation that this comparable property has been added to our CMA analysis. We're going to select close, and to add more properties, we're going to search an area for several properties. Once you enter your comparable criteria as well as your location, select the search option. And then from your map view or list view, add those comparable properties that you would like to use. Once they're selected, update your evaluation and close. Under step number 3, we're going to make our adjustments to our comparable property. Now, for the sold properties that we have through RPR, the sold date is reflected. But for our off-market property, the property's RVM is displaying. So in order to reflect the actual recorded sales price for the property, we're going to go ahead and make an adjustment under our sale or finance concession. Let's say our property sold for $410,000. We're going to subtract the $19,490 difference for our properties. You will go through your CMA and make any other adjustments as needed. When we scroll down to the bottom to see our net and gross adjustments amount, you will notice that the adjusted value of our off-market CMA property is now reflected correctly. Under the notes, go ahead and add the sold date. And the sold price for your seller or client. Once you add your notes, include those notes in your report and update your evaluation and close to view your projected sales price. Go ahead and create that valuation workbook report. Remember, you can personalize the report and email that report to your client by selecting Run Report. I'm going to open up a pre-generated valuation workbook report that we have. That's just going to highlight the result of our comparison analysis as well as the result of the estimated value. And as I scroll down and we look at the home facts for the property, You will see that it does appear in the side by side. We have subject property, comp 1, comp 2, comp 3. You'll see that reflection of our adjustment, as well as the reflection of the correct sales price and date. And that is how you can add an off-market property to your CMA in RPR. For more resources, please visit our blog.
So there you have it, how easily you can add an off-market property to an RPR CMA. And just so that folks know they want to see this, if Shireen and Bradford would like to see this video again, they would just come right to our blog and under the learning. So in our blog under learning are all of our resources for all of the features that we have in RPR. And they would click agent and their learning type. So however folks like to learn, whether it's a live webinar, recorded webinar, a tutorial, which is what we call our videos. We have ebooks and quick starts. And, you know, I like to see what all my choices are. So I check on everything. And then for this particular video, it's under CMA and it's adding off-market properties to the CMA. And then here are other resources on how to create RPR CMAs. And I just also, if they're not, I guess I would like to ask Shireen and Brad, you know, do you use RPR now, or have you used it in the past? Do you mind sharing your experience?
I have not, Veronica. So that's why I wanted to check in today to get a refresher so I can start using it as another tool.
Excellent, excellent. And Brad, what about you? He might be on mute. You might be on mute, Brad. So Shireen, definitely where you're going to, you'll want to step back here. I'm going to just jump back over to the blog. Definitely you'll want to come over to the learning and really maybe just get a quick start over here under getting started. Because as you can see, there's so much. And I don't want you to become overwhelmed, but I do want you to realize, you know, you can definitely do the CMA, which is, you know, one of the things, it's the most used feature of RPR because that's what realtors do. Well, you know, that's what you're doing. You're creating a CMA for your prospective seller or for your prospective buyer if you're working as a buyer agent. So you'll want to get a handle on that. And then from there, my recommendation would be to go over to the neighborhood reports and the school reports. And also when you sign in, we have a new user experience layer. So for example, okay, you've signed in and you're pretty sure you want to do that CMA, but if you're just kind of coming in and looking around, you know, what do you want to do today? Do you want to, tour the RPR map and kind of get an overall look at what's happening? Or do you want to come in and you right away, you want to know about a CMA or to create a report? So maybe when you come in, Shireen, the first thing you're going to see is you'll see this and you'll say, all right, you know what, let's take a quick tour of the RPR map. So I clicked on RPR map and you just follow the prompts. We're trying to make it easy and we're trying to make it so that you don't have to.
Veronica, where was RPR map that she would have clicked on?
It was in that user experience, that first box here. It said, take a tour of the RPR map.
Oh, okay.
Here on the right. Yeah, I'm still sharing the screen.
Yeah.
And then as you click, you just follow the wizard. So it says, all right, so here's the map. Here's the map of RPR. Let's lay out all the areas of RPR. And the first area on the map, so to speak, are the different property types. Do you want to look at all properties? Are you looking what's for sale, for lease? Do you want to do a neighborhood report, a school report, a market activity? So the first thing is, so maybe Shireen says she wants to do a CMA. So she picks her property type and she wants to do a CMA on a property, so then she'll plug in the address. All right, so what's next? I picked all properties, what's next? All right, so enter in a zip code and then click on the icon to search. And that's gonna tell me, if I put in the zip code, it'll give me all of the properties in this community. However, if you just put in the single address, it's gonna tell me, you know, it will pull up a property. So that's just one of the features that's available to kind of walk the user through. So that's new. That just came up within the last 3 weeks. If I'd like to now go over to just reports to give an overall on the type of reports that are available. The property report is typically is going to be used when you're working with a buyer. And everything that we have here is on the mobile app. And what's great within the mobile app is a buyer tour. So you can actually set up properties for a buyer tour within the mobile app. This is our flyer. And under all of these reports, under more details, this is where it can be customized. So for example, and this is really important, under the seller's report, if everything is checked off, that report's going to be about 75 or 85 pages. And, you know, most realtors don't want a 75 or 85 page report because it's overwhelming for the client. So I always recommend come in, click on create a report on your own home, look at what the pages are, and then decide, you know, most of the time when I do a CMA, what pages do I want to include? And then once you check the boxes that you want, those won't change unless you change them. So the last CMA I did, I needed something really streamlined. And maybe the next time I go out, I might want to show market activity. So I'll just check it off. So that's really important. That's how you customize all of the reports, by clicking on more details and then selecting the features that you want to include. One of the other features that we have in RPR are opportunity zones. So with opportunity zones, these are great to use with your investor clients. Non-investors purchase in opportunity zones as well, but with investor clients, they can go in and purchase properties in these opportunity zones, and it gives tax advantages based on the length of time these properties are held, starting at 7 to 10 years. And it's very easy to search for the opportunity zones in RPR. And I'm going to just quickly go over here, and opportunity zones here. This is an opportunity zones, and just want to show you how to do a quick video on that. So we're going to go over to here and click. And here we have all of the ways to learn about opportunity zones. And I had this set up. I apologize. I lost it. Neighborhoods and schools. So let me quickly just go in over here. So opportunity zones are going to be found, say if I do, I'm going to just pull up a county in Massachusetts, and opportunity zones will be found by using our mapping tool. So here's Suffolk County in Massachusetts. And if I click on show geographies, and it's going to be right under here, opportunity zones. And I'm going to focus within this section here, click on it. And right up here, it will say search in this geography. And it would probably be even make more sense. What's the county that you're located in, Susie? What county in Connecticut? I can't hear. Unmute yourself.
New London County, sorry.
New London. So let's, let me pick, snooze this for a week. And New London County. Let's see. London County, Connecticut. Let's see if there's some opportunity zones in New London
Why
County.
would our residential agents be interested in this, Veronica? Sorry for my ignorance, but
Oh, no, it's a great question. So your residential agents would be interested in this because they do have investor clients. So they have clients that want to invest in properties. So opportunity zones in your area, actually quite a bit of, so this is right here.
so are
if I-
you talking about somebody who wanted to buy a duplex or something like that and rent it out?
Yep.
That's an investment property, and the opportunity zone gives them some kind of a tax advantage?
Right, those tax advantages are over 7 to 10 years in holding, and they get huge tax incentives for holding those properties. So that's a big, and your residential agents, I mean, you know, they work, they're not necessarily, they're working with investors that aren't necessarily commercial, even though any property 4 units and over is considered commercial, but very frequently residential agents are working with those buyers.
Okay.
That's where you would find the opportunity zones. The other feature that is not listing dependent, but provides a great resource for the realtor, and I'm going to show this, would be so a neighborhood. So if I did, Shireen, what community do you work in the most? What city or town do you work in the most, would you say?
Let's use Waterford.
Yeah. Okay. So how are you going to use a neighborhood report for Waterford or any community? If you're doing an open house, you'll want to create an RPR report. Maybe you'll print out one. You leave it on the counter. The buyer comes through. They want to take a look at it. You're going to say to them, hey, you know, I only have one of these. Let me email you it. And you'll grab their email address. And then you say, hey, why don't you open that up now? Let's make sure that, you know, let's review it. Or would you like to go through it now? Let me point something out to you. And what you've now done, Shireen, is you've been able to capture their contact info. What are they going to find in it? Here is they'll find housing, people, economy, and quality of life information. The other great feature is that you can pull up this neighborhood information on your mobile device. And when somebody asks you, because they always ask you, how's the market? Well, you can say, well, in Waterford, Connecticut, overall median estimated home values are $267,000. And we've had an increase of 1.82% in value over the last month. And over the last 12 months, we've had a 3.15% increase in value, which is so much better than saying the market, it's unbelievable. So instead of saying it's unbelievable, we can say, you know, we can give some real data, because they want to know, we have to do more. You know, that's one of the things that the internet, the advent of the internet did for us, that we do more now. We have to interpret the data. We have to be able to give specifics, because they can get it, they just can't interpret it the way a realtor does.
Will you create that report, Veronica, so she can see how beautiful it comes out?
So I'm going to create this report over here by clicking on Create a Report. And I'll click on Neighborhood Report. And I don't want to include this custom page. Custom pages are over here. I'll review that in a moment. But here are all of the features and about RPR and our data. And we have this available to you to include in all your reports, because we make you the source of information. You always want to be the source of the source. So I'm going to create this. You can include the recipient's name, type a message for them, and then that's how you email it directly. Now I'm going to run this report, and I'm going to show you a couple of cool things. So you're going to run this report on Waterford before your open house, and it's going to live over here. So you've got it already here, and in your, you'll be able to see it under reports on your smartphone. So it's going to already be created, and you're going to click on it. While that's being created, it only takes a couple minutes, I am going to pop over here to my Facebook page. I'll go to my home page. Okay, so here's something on my home page. This is going to be your, you'll share this to your your business page that you manage, and you're going to say, I want you to see that there isn't anything here. So this is how you're going to use this in your social media marketing. Okay, I'm going to download my report. And I'll show you how awesome it looks. You're going to make sure that your profile is updated. That's this right here. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So neighborhood housing stats and charts. And remember this, Shireen and Brad, that each of these pages can be separately produced. And I'll tell you in a moment why that's important. But in this report here, we have them all together. So this gives a comparison between Waterford, New London, Connecticut, and the US. These median estimated home values, the 1 month and 12-month change in value, how many folks own or rent in the area, what is the sales price versus sales volume. So it's going to give some very specific info. It's going to make you tell the reader what they're looking at, where the info came from, how often it's updated. So I'm going to scroll through this. So all of this info. And what's great about this is you can then expand because they see all this general info, but the consumer wants to know, well, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for me if I'm buying a property or if I'm a potential seller? Where does my home fit in here? So this opens the door for additional conversation. People information, population, male-female ratio, education levels, population of adults and children by age group, households with kids. Your analytical clients will love this. Your families will be interested to see that type of information. Economic stats and charts.
Oh, look, you can see COVID-19 on the unemployment rate.
Isn't that something? Yeah. It'll be unfortunately, where it's in a downward trajectory, but yeah, right there. So it's all reflected. Occupational categories, and then about RPR. All right, so now, one of the ways I said you're gonna use this, you'll use this at an open house. You can use this if, you're out and about in the neighborhood. Again, people always say, well, how's the market? Or what's happening in Waterford? You can show it to them on their phone. But remember I talked about Facebook. So now let's say once a week, let's say you pick 5 communities that you work in. Well, maybe Monday you're going to do Waterford, Tuesday you'll do, New London or or whatever community. And you're just going to talk about, the housing stats and charts. And you're going to say, hey folks, here's what's happening in Waterford in the market. And you can post this report. Now this one we have everything, but you're going to post it to Facebook by clicking on that orange circle with the white plus sign, share to Facebook. And I'm going to say, love sharing RPR with ECAR Realtors. But you're going to say, hey folks, this is what's happening in Waterford in the housing for this week. And then you're going to share it to, you know, your group. If it's a group that you keep or on a page you manage, I'm just going to share it here. And I have to move this and post to Facebook. All righty. So let's go back to Facebook, refresh my page. Now, of course, I'm showing you how to do this step by step, and I did a lot of talking, so it was a couple of minutes. But in actuality, it took 30 seconds for you to share this to Facebook. Here's what the reader sees. They click on it, and it opens up this beautiful report.
So Veronica, if Shireen was to do that every week, let's say for Waterford, are those stats updated like daily or monthly, or is she going to get the same report every,
No.
you know, how does that work?
That's a great question. So the RPR, all of the data in RPR that comes in from the MLS is updated every 15 to 30 minutes. The public record data comes in every day. Now, if something closed yesterday and it wasn't in the MLS, it will not be reflected today. It will be reflected in the next couple of weeks. But you'll notice that, because that was a great question. So if I go back here to the report and I open it back up again, so this information is going to be, you know, this information, this estimated home values, the 12-month change in values, that's as we get updates and we calculate, that could change conceivably every day. Okay, that could conceivably change every day.
It could change every day, but something that sold yesterday will not be, will not update this list for 2 weeks.
At least, yeah.
Okay.
Because we'll have to pull that information out of public record, but these,
Okay.
you're right. But if I go through here, yeah, so and really these numbers here, you know, these could change on a daily basis. This is going to change with the listing price. Price can change on a daily basis because this is all of the properties that are listed that are in RPR.
And your resource is at our MLS, Veronica? Sorry.
Right. So with Smart MLS, there are 2 companies that are not sharing their MLS data. So anything that sells in the last, anything that sells, we're not going to see that reflected in RPR for about probably 4 to 6 weeks. So
Okay. Can you tell me who those companies are?
Sotheby's and Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay, thank you.
And so, you know, Susie, you do bring up an excellent point. If we want to make sure that it's likely that you'd want to do a comparison between the MLS estimated, the list price changes 1 month and 12 month. Look in Smart MLS. I'm sure that there's a statistic for that, and see how it compares to RPR, because that's the major, all of this information, the median home age, the own, the rent, all of this is not MLS dependent. This information here is not MLS dependent either, because it's dependent upon sales. So, but this one is dependent upon the MLS info. Does that make
You're
sense?
just pointing to the list price.
Correct. The
Okay,
list.
so anything sold is going to be as accurate as Smart MLS because you're pulling from public records.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But how often are you pulling from public records?
Oh, on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yep, that's on a daily basis. So I lost my train of thought before we had that question, but
This is interesting, Veronica. I've got like brand new content. Not like
Yeah.
refreshed knowledge of content to share
Yeah.
with our members.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that. And then there is, I'm going to close that. Then there is, if I go back here, we could do, so you could do something like that, Shireen. And if you didn't feel comfortable, you can exclude that housing data. You could use something different if you wanted to. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to, this is a great idea. If you weren't entirely comfortable with that facet of the report, the housing stats and charts, you could uncheck this, right? You could do your own little PDF of something that you pull out of Smart MLS. And over here under Manage Custom Pages, you could upload that page
Okay.
and include that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
what I was wondering. So that report that you created was 10 pages. So by using this feature, I could limit that.
Oh,
Correct.
so, well, that was 10 pages, that one. Yeah. So how
Yeah.
you, well, that's why I say you might want to just do one of these tabs.
Those are the report elements that create the 10 pages. Is that right?
Yeah. So,
Yeah. No, that was going to be my question. So it's a nice feature.
yep. So on the week that you're going to do housing stats and charts, you may want to include all of the other RPR, like the source of the source info on your profile page, but then for the stats, you might want to upload that here under Manage Custom Pages. And then you can do up to 5 at once. So here's one that I used. I added this when I did a recent CMA for a client. I pulled out of the MLS, I just listed all the properties similar, and it gave a good overall of the average list and sale price, and I PDF'd it and I uploaded it here, and I included it with my CMA because it was a good visual for my client. And now I don't need it anymore. Oh, and also I wanted it at the end of my report, and I don't need it anymore. And so now I'm going to delete it.
So you can customize any report.
Correct.
Okay.
Your custom pages live over here, and at any given time you can have 5 in there. And some, you could upload a testimonials, a page of testimonials, or a resume, or a company image piece. This is again how I want to reinforce
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah, so if your company has image pieces that they like you to use or you like using, upload them here. And if your company has branded to RPR and there's no charge, and what that means is that when you go in as a user, your company name is at the top of the page, and on all the reports, your company name is at the top of the page, and there are some other broker tool features, but as far as the agent is concerned, it's branded to the company. And the company can also have an additional 5 pages that they could say, okay, here are your 5 company image pages that we want you to use in your or have available as a resource. Then you can upload, the agent can upload 5 of their own pages. So you could conceivably have 10 different custom pages to include in your reports. Yeah, so that's really cool. And the other one that's a good one to have is for schools.
Veronica, I had a quick question about that. Sorry, I was muted. So once you upload it into the custom section, and then you go back to do the next time you go in to do a different report, those custom things you added would be there. So you can just tag them on any report at any time,
Yes.
unless
so,
you delete them.
Correct. And I don't know if you remember when I went into the seller's report and when I went into the neighborhood report before, it included that custom page. It was right here. So if you,
does it automatically add it if it's in there?
it will, if you've used it, it will upload. So you have to remember to check and uncheck it if you want it.
But that's a good thing if it's something about your company that you want on every single report anyway.
Exactly, and you don't want to have to remember. Yep, and then schools. So we could do Waterford Connecticut. And we could do a search for the school. So let's chat a little bit about schools and then maybe any other questions. So we get the school information from Niche, and they give the data on the schools that they update that on a yearly basis. So if you know that there's going to be a school closing or a consolidation, it's not going to be reflected here with Niche until it happens. Does that make sense? It's not predictive, it's present tense. Also, it's the same thing. The information that's included there is source of the source. You can create a school report. You could create a school report for the property that you're doing a CMA on. You could share the school reports on Facebook, you know, once a week or once a month, you can say, okay, this month it's, you know, we're featuring the Clark Lane Middle School, and you can share that same report to Facebook that you did, like you did the neighborhood report. And the other thing is, on the mobile, all your reports, you can share them to all the social media platforms that you use. So when you click on the share button within RPR Mobile, you can share to Facebook, you can text it, you can share to Insta. I take a photo, I do a screenshot of the report cover for Insta. And where do I want to go over here? Because I want to show about learning. Let me move this out of the way. So that's what you'll get. All of those different ability to share to the different social media platforms here. Shireen, Brad, you're going to want to make sure you come over here to the mobile and take a look at mobile. And the other thing is too, when you're on the blog and click in search. So for example, put in social media. You could put in, if you have a question about something, put it in. And we have posts that are not just on using RPR, but for example, this one, a good mix of content yields the greatest social media return on investment. So if you want to really learn about different things, we have tips and tricks. So it's, you know, using social media.
It seems to me, I'm not muted, right? It seems to me if you just get started on this and start putting this stuff out on social media,
Yep.
Shireen, you're going to have, and Brad, you're going to have people going, hey, where'd you get that? Like, you're going to look like the leader of the pack just because these reports are so beautiful. And it's not that you can't get some of this information from the Smart MLS. What do they have? Rheology or whatever their types of reporting is. But these ones are so polished and marketing friendly and glossy and all that, that your clients and your customers are going to think you're more of a pro, I think.
You know, one of the things that really it's crazy is that event that you had, your harvest get together. So you had almost 100, so say 85 realtors there. I could have been there, given them all. I could have talked, as you can see, I could talk about RPR all day. But I guarantee that maybe a handful would be using RPR when they left. So
Right.
Point is, like you said, is that Shireen and Brad, when you go out and you're using RPR and your fellow realtors are going to want to know, you're at the advantage because you're the one that's using it and no one else is.
Well, I can tell you, I'm going to start using it for the association on social media. I like how easy that is to post stuff on social media.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'll send you some other resources too. We're going to do a lot for just targeted and send you some targeted stuff that we actually just need you to copy and paste out on social media. We want to make it easy for you. But you're right. With some creativity, Susie, you go in and you can grab some great stuff.
By the way, Veronica, you were scheduled to be on our resource conference, which we obviously postponed. It would have been this past week. So mark your calendar for September 21 and 22 of 2021. So we postponed it to a year from now. So hopefully we'll have this type of thing live in a year or so.
That sounds great. Shireen, Brad, make sure you go over to RPR Connect, and that's where you're going to be able to bounce stuff off of other realtors. Plus, we'll give tips and tricks as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I hope your head's not exploding. I know it's a fire hose of info, but
No, I'll start with the Learning Center. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Veronica, thank you so much. This was great, actually. I'm refreshed and I'm excited about posting some stuff myself. And this was a good refresher course and a beginner course to just introduce people to RPR. And we will share this link with our members. And I thank you so much for joining us today on Get Real with ECAR.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.